don't know what's wrong with my mic. My mic's acting up. Looks like it's working now. I don't know if you can hear me. You should be good. And back at all-time highs again. What's happening? Video broke all-time highs. It broke here. That's crazy move. In Green Day. With the Nokia, I believe, right? Or blue building AI, hold on. I drank my coffee, but to get to the Fomc decision, it's a big,
Yeah, I don't know why this mic does this, where sometimes I'll start it up and it's just weird, and then I gotta unplug it and plug it back in. The good old unplug and plug it back in. Yeah, we fixed it. We should be good now. Let me know if we're good. We should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, for some reason when it does this, it makes me unplug it and plug it back in. But yeah, NASDAQ at all-time highs, Nvidia at all-time highs. Microchips have been running. Look at Nvidia, man, up to 200 plus. I figured Nvidia wanted $200 or more based off of everything. And again, we got the FOMC decision today. Yeah, what's up, Brian? Robert. Good old Windows. Nah, I don't know if it's Windows. I dislike Windows more than everybody. All right, so the Swiss expects U.S. tariffs to hit tax revenue from next year. We did have some earnings this morning. The big earnings are this evening. This afternoon, I should say, after the Fed meeting. We had Verizon, which missed revenue, beat EPS. Boeing still waiting on that one. That one should drop in about 11 minutes. We got CVS, BDPS beat revenue. Caterpillar, BDPS beat revenue. Fisher, missed EPS, missed revenue. Etsy, BDPS beat revenue. ADP, BDPS beat revenue. Kraft Heinz, missed revenue, BDPS, and more. So we had some earnings come out already this morning. Let's do a poll here. I think we got to ask about the FOMC decision, right? Will the Fed cut 25 basis points today? I could also do will the Fed end quantitative tightening today like JP Morgan expects. But I'll just go with this one. Yeah, I mean, I've said it a couple times over the past month or two where I thought Nvidia wanted $200. I thought it was close enough. It was at 195 highs, right? So I think whenever anything gets that close to a big whole number, the psychology of it starts to make sense. It's kind of like a magnet almost, where it just kind of gets attracted to those big levels. And yeah, Nvidia finally broke 200. I don't think it was super difficult to predict this, especially with all the microchip news that we've seen over the last few days. Yeah, not a shock. U.S. Department of Energy announced a major partnership with NVIDIA and Oracle to build its largest AI supercomputers. It's going to be called the Solstice supercomputer. The flagship system is going to be powered by 100,000 of NVIDIA's Blackwell chips to accelerate research in national security, nuclear fusion, and drug discovery. The federal validation of NVIDIA hardware. We also had NVIDIA and Nokia, which was yesterday's news as well, Nokia surged almost 23%. If you look at Nokia, this news came out yesterday. Back down a little bit. It was up at 8. It's back down to 750, but Nokia went up after announcing that NVIDIA would invest $1 billion in them and form a new strategic partnership. And then yesterday morning, remember, we had Microsoft OpenAI news. So Microsoft OpenAI is no longer required to use Microsoft Azure exclusively. Microsoft is still a preferred partner. OpenAI is now free to use other cloud providers and chip makers. It was not a chip deal, but a corporate restructuring. Microsoft now holds a 27% stake valued at $135 billion in for-profit OpenAI entity. So, those are all the chip news. It's not a shock to see most of these like fly higher today. Today we got the Fed meeting, right? And we're still in the midst of the government shutdown. We are on day 29 of the government shutdown. Government's still closed. We're not getting economic data. They did recently, yesterday, talk about now that they're going to be doing once a week ADP jobs data, private payroll data, once a week. And then next Wednesday, we get the larger ADP report. So we actually have some reports next week to cover. But yeah, we're still in the midst of the government shutdown. The government shutdown has delayed the PCE report and GDP report that were due tomorrow and Friday. President Trump, currently in Asia, is scheduled to meet with President Xi tomorrow, Thursday, October 30th, in South Korea to finalize the China deal. So we'll see. We got to be watching to see if that gets done. This framework means the 155% tariff threat is, quote, off the table for November 1st. But we are approaching a different deadline for November 1st. The SNAP deadline, November 1st cutoff for SNAP, which is food stamps benefits, is the only event putting pressure on Congress. The administration confirmed no contingency funds will be used, making the cutoff imminent if a deal is not struck in the next 48 hours. I'm hoping they get a deal done. I asked AI yesterday, I said, hey AI, calculate when you think a deal will be struck to end the government shutdown. And I was like, I know you can't know for sure, but take history into account, take current events into account, take everything into account, and when do you think the government shutdown will end? Gemini, which has been a little bit more accurate in my opinion, said they think it will either end today, tomorrow, or Friday. Today, tomorrow, or Friday. They think specifically probably Thursday is when they said it would most likely end the government shutdown. Most likely Thursday. They think the SNAP dynamic is going to put enough pressure on people to get the shutdown over on Thursday. That's what Gemini thinks. I asked the OpenAI the same thing, and OpenAI basically said it thinks it will end anytime between Thursday, and I think it's like Thursday and November 3rd is when OpenAI, so basically between Thursday and Monday, they think the government shutdown will end. We'll see. We'll see. So you're saying there's a chance. Looking at rate odds, today we got the FOMC decision. And it's a big day. If we take a look at yields ahead of this here, yields are still under 4%. 3.995% this morning. So yields are still low. But I think they might be up a little bit over the last 24 hours, but not much. It's going to be mostly flat ahead of the Fed meeting. And then if we look at the actual rate odds here, it's pretty probable we're going to cut 25 basis points. I mean, everybody knows that. Again, the real question, again, you're going to have some people betting on a pause or some people betting on these wild expectations. I try to tell people you shouldn't do that. But anything could essentially happen here, I guess. But, again, we are 99.9% likely to cut rates 25 basis points today. What you want to pay attention to is whether we end quantitative tightening. JP Morgan came out last week saying they think we're going to end quantitative tightening today, which would be a big dovish act. If we cut rates 25 basis points and in QT, the question is, does the market go up or down on that dynamic? I don't know. We could certainly have some inflation fears. We did have inflation, CPI inflation show up on Friday. That was elevated for sure. Of course I invest. Everybody invests. Yeah, Nvidia at 209s. A lot of chip news. Again, today we have Microsoft and Google earnings after the bell, and I think maybe Meta as well. I think we got Microsoft, Google, and Meta. Let me make sure. Yeah, we got Microsoft, Meta, and Google today. So, Microsoft, Meta, and Google earnings evening. Ton of big layoffs recently. Job market is not getting better anytime soon. Yeah, it's been a weird market for sure. 100%. It's been strange. Yeah. Yeah, we gotta stream the FOMC meeting later. All right, guys. Nasdaq's still up here, man. Look at the Nasdaq. The new all-time highs in the NQ. Let me make sure this is right. New all-time highs in the Nasdaq are now $26,310. When is it gonna stop? When is it gonna stop, guys? Look at this crazy move. This is the new all-time high in the Nasdaq. Man, it's been wild. $26,310 new all-time high. Technically, it's $26,309.75. If we take a look at the regular NQ, it might be slightly different, but no, it's basically $26,309.75. Bitcoin down a little bit from yesterday. Yesterday, it got up to like 116s, back down to 113s today for Bitcoin. Look at the Nasdaq go higher here too. No, a lot of the time we're choppy ahead of the FOMC decision, but I think the dynamic we have today is a little different. We have earnings today as well. We have big tech earnings. We had earnings this morning. If you look at what earnings we had this morning, we had Verizon. We got Boeing supposed to be dropping in about 2 minutes. We could watch for that to go live, but it says China team's going to meet with EU officials Friday for rare earth talks. Green. I mean, I'm gonna stream a lot. Data is king. Yeah, well, we don't really have data right now. We're waiting for the government to resume. Again, I hope AI is right. I asked Gemini. Gemini said it'll probably resume tomorrow, is what they think. But if you search government shutdown on social media, which I'm certainly not recommending you do, it's just kind of like both sides just blame each other, right? And again, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's somewhere in the middle, you know. Like one side is trying to get clean CRs passed. I think they've tried. The right has tried to get 12 or 13 passed. Left continues to reject them with demands, and you know. But the right is also responsible to like get people together and make a deal. So like it's both of their fault, to be honest. Left's trying to use leverage. You know, right is kind of digging their heels in the sand, and so we don't really have any optimism here. You know, the only thing that could really, according to AI, the only thing that could really end this shutdown is big deadlines getting missed, right? Putting so much pressure on either side to force a resolution. And again, according to AI, it thinks tomorrow's the day a deal's gonna get done. I hope it is, to be honest. I hope it is. No rate cut today. We go bear market. No crash. Middle is the place to be. I'm pretty deep in the middle here. I'm trying to see if Boeing came out with their earnings. Yeah, Boeing looks like it did release their earnings. They're at 220s right now, 220s. Let me look. Boeing missed. Boeing posted 747, missed the 515. Boeing had a huge miss. Look at this miss right here. No rate cut today. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna cut rates today. We're gonna cut rates 25 basis points. I think we've had weak labor data and reasonable enough inflation to where we're gonna cut rates today. So Ash, I wouldn't, no offense, but you're saying the government's gonna be shut down until March and that we're gonna pause rates today. You know, so you're just kind of saying some wild stuff that none of that stuff's gonna happen. And that's okay. You know, as long as people don't believe you, you know, it's fine to say it, I guess. And you're wrong, but you know, okay. Yeah, it's 99.9% odds of a rate cut today, actually, if you look at the odds. So we're actually like 99.9% likely that we're gonna look. We're 99.9. 99.9. This is a 25 basis point cut. So this is very likely today, a 25 basis point cut. 0.1% chance of a pause today. You know, and again, I say this every Fed meeting, but for some reason people get all weird and they try to go against the wildly unexpected outcome, and then they're always wrong, and then a lot of the time they cry about it like it was supposed to happen. And again, it just kind of shows they don't really pay attention to many Fed meetings or understand the odds or probabilities leading into it. Once we get same day, the odds changing are very, very low. The odds of the outcome changing from the most projected to the least projected are very, very, very low. And so, yeah, I'm curious to see if he is going to end quantitative tightening. You handled that with professional. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I try. Top 3 most professional guy ever right here. I don't know what gold's gonna do today. I really don't. Yeah, I really don't know what we're gonna get today. Yeah, but we do have earnings coming out right now. Markets have just been wow, dude. They've been going up big, down big. Nasdaq's getting very close to all-time highs. We've had a very green time trading too. Like we've mostly made money. See what we get here. Yeah, like here's my trading. Let me find it. Where's the... Yeah, so Boeing, big miss on EPS revenue. It's down. You can see Boeing. Bitcoin pushing back up. Nvidia over $200 at almost 210 right now. Yeah, this has been my month of October. So the shutdown has honestly helped my trading here. We've only had 2 days where we've lost money. You know, the main account that I've been trading, we've only had 2 losing days out of everything. So that's out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've been 80% daily accuracy. If that continues. Yeah, we're gonna stream the whole meeting live. I mean, we're gonna cut rates. I don't think that means we're gonna moon or anything. Yeah, Powell doesn't like to surprise people. Gold back over 4,000 if you take a look at it. Again, Bitcoin rebounding back up too, but still at 113. So it's been going back and forth between like 116 and 112 the last 24 to 48 hours. Gold over 4,000 again, climbed back up yesterday. So the question is gold going to go on another bull run now that it had a reasonable pullback from like 4,400 to 4,000 or under 4K? Is gold going to go back on some type of crazy run now? The meeting's in like, it's 7:30 market time, 7:40. The actual meeting is at 2:30. So 7 hours, give or take a couple minutes. 7 hours until the meeting. I would say it's probably like 6 hours and 50 minutes or so. 6.5 hours until the actual rate decision. I'm not as delusional as to say they're not going to cut rates, but I'm still going to say it's going to be sell the news event with how technicals are standing. My target is about to be hit on the upside. Yeah, I'm not even against that. I'm not against that thesis, right? Like that could happen, certainly. It doesn't mean that could always happen. You know, we could cut rates I think it depends on whether we end quantitative tightening. I think the market kind of wants us to end QT as well. I think JP Morgan came out saying that we were going to end QT. And so I think the dynamic of that is going to be what influences price as well. I think it depends on what Powell says, of course. I think it's pretty likely we're going to cut rates today. I think the deciding factors on where the market goes are going to be, do we end quantitative tightening? Quantitative tightening is a form of reduction in the Fed's balance sheet where they let their current holdings, like their bonds and MBSs, mature and run off. It's called passive QT is what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. It's a dovish monetary policy. Ending QT is a dovish monetary policy. QT is a restrictive monetary policy. It kind of restricts liquidity and keeps interest rates high. And so ending that is a dovish thing. And so if they cut rates 25 basis points and end QT, I think we're going to get good moves from it. I think it's going to be beneficial, but you never know. We'll see. You never know. I think this is the final phase of the run. This market is BS. Yeah, I mean, see what happens today. What's up, Matthew? Yeah, the market keeps breaking highs every day. It's kind of wild, to be honest. Nvidia over 200s, gold back over 4,000. Nasdaq's getting very close to all-time highs again here. And part of me wants to buy this dip right now. We're close enough to all-time highs. All-time highs are right here on the Nasdaq, 26,309.75. SPY also hit all-time highs here. Good SPY. The ES up here. ES new all-time highs, 69,400. I think the S&P wants 7,000. What I think as well. So here's 7K in the S&P. I think the S&P wants 7. Big psychological level. A lot of people paying attention to it. I think 7,000 makes sense to pay attention to. Yeah, Boeing delays market debut of 777X jetliner to 2027. They take almost a $5 billion charge for latest delay. 737 production not at FM approved rate of 42 jets a month. Again, China team is going to meet with European officials Friday for rare earth talks. And again, other big news is that the president is supposed to meet with the Chinese president tomorrow, October 30th, in South Korea. So people are looking to see if a China deal's on the table or not, is what they're looking at. It's going to influence things if we don't get anything like that. If we don't get a China deal done after this meeting, heading into the 1st, which is Saturday, markets might go down. And so there's a couple things that could sway the market either way. We'll see though. We'll see though. Yeah, we're gonna stream the whole meeting. Earnings. Yeah, we got earnings today. Again, Microsoft, Meta, and Google earnings this afternoon. They all release at the same time as well. So they all release at 4:05 p.m. Eastern time. Every one of them. Microsoft, Meta, and Google all come out at 4:05 p.m. We also have Chipotle, Carvana, and more. But yeah, we mostly release at 5 p.m. We got a pullback. Let's see if the Nasdaq breaks all-time highs leading into this move. Nvidia tells the market what to do, kind of. Nvidia right now and OpenAI news are helping markets. So it depends. There's a lot of stuff boosted markets right now. Nvidia, OpenAI, a lot of other stuff too. see if we bounce here. Curious, we're close to all-time highs. We made this run up close to all-time highs. I assume we're at least going to test all-time highs now. Yeah. See our poll. We did a poll. Will the Fed cut 25 basis points? 88% say yes. 12% say no. All right, we are in a position now here. Look at this. Take a little bit off up here, lock it in. Feel me right there. I'll break you. I just want to see if we start ripping up there to break all-time highs. If not, it's small position. I'm gonna cut it right there. We got out flat on that position, I think. Yeah. It might go back up. All right. I feel like they should have offset them at least a little. That's a lot of data at once. What do you mean? Yeah, we're just close enough to all-time highs where I'm trying to kind of buy a dip and see if we go up there and break all-time highs. That's what I've been doing all week. If you look at most of my stats this week. It's been a good week, really. This week and last week. Oh, the earnings? Yeah. Yeah, I'm long, but it's small. We're trading really small. I just want to see if we can go back up here. Again, here's all-time highs right here. Just the only reason I'm long right here is here's all-time highs. We're close enough to that here to, I think, potentially, and again, I'm not an investment professional. I'm not liable. If you lose, make your own assessment, trade smart, can't guarantee anything. Don't copy me. You know, all the good stuff. Not an investment professional. But we're close enough to that where maybe I can get in and sit, and if we break down, I can cut it for small losses. I think my risk is larger than my reward here, and I think I got an easy exit if we start to break down under like 285 right here. Probably held that longer position, but it's all right. Still a ton of money on the sidelines, so we'll continue to FOMO in, because what else can... We'll continue to FOMO in because where else can they make money? Yeah. I mean, it's hard to, look. You know how many shorts are getting squeezed out right now? Everybody, the problem with people over predicting shorts is that eventually, the longer you hold on to that position, the less likely you are to make money. The reason crashes are so hard to short and make money in is because if you're wrong about timing, even if you're right about it happening, but you're wrong about timing, you still lose. Right, this is the dynamic they talked about in the Big Short movie, is because Michael Burry got in early. And what people kept telling him is that early was as good as wrong, you know. I mean, in hindsight, he made billions from it, but he's Michael Burry, and he had the bankroll to basically keep paying it. But most people don't have it like that, and so most people are not going to be able to keep adding to a position. And so again, I talked about this yesterday, but I kind of go back to the 90s. Even if we are in a 90s correction, which a lot of people are saying now, which I'm not necessarily sold on, I think it could happen. But even if we are in a 90s correction, you know, the 1997 irrational exuberance speech happened, and we didn't crash for 3 or 4 years, you know. And so even if we are in a bubble like that, we might not crash for years. We might run up leading into it. So A lot of risk on either side, I think. The rate decision is 2 p.m. That is later today. It's currently 7:50 market time roughly right now in the morning. So yeah. So it's coming out today. It's just much later today. Fed will say pause because they need more data. Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're going to pause. Just to clarify. I don't think that's happening. See what gold does, man. Gold's still over 4,000. S&P close to 7,000. So we'll see what these do. But again, my risk level in this trade is roughly right here. I'm going to use like 83. So I mean, maybe it does happen. It's just unlikely to happen regarding a pause. We're not going to pause today. We're going to do a 25 basis point cut. And I think you have to look at it like this. We had the ADP update yesterday. And I'm sure like the Fed looked at that data, right? Like we had the ADP update yesterday. ADP came out. I think they showed like 14,000 jobs, which is a very low number, right? Generally, we see anywhere between like, I would say like 100 and 150, sometimes more in terms of payrolls. And they showed 14,000 yesterday for the ADP report, which is now going to be a weekly report at the very least until the shutdown ends, right? So now we're getting ADP. So that means next Tuesday, 8:15 market time, we're going to get the ADP report again. And then on Wednesday, it's a weekly report. It's kind of replacing jobless claims is what it is. And then at 8:15 Wednesday, we get the monthly ADP report. We get a bunch of job reports next week, even with the government shutdown. So that's something. But it showed weakness, and I think the Fed's going to cut rates. I don't think they're going to play with it too much. I think with the data blackout, we don't really have data because the government shut down. I think the Fed is just going to yeah, I got to cut this. That's fine. Pretty small. Even on that account that we just traded, which is the account we've traded on the least, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we went like 5, 6. Yeah, we've been 5 and 3, winning days, losing days. Do we have a decent source for stopping QT today, or is it just a rumor? So we had JP Morgan last week come out with news saying that they think we're going to end quantitative tightening today during the Fed meeting. JP Morgan thinks we're going to end QT today during the FOMC. That's what they think. I hope they're right. I genuinely hope they're right. I don't know. Yeah, EBT benefits ending Friday. SNAP benefits, food stamp benefits ending Friday. And again, I'm going to go back over this. I asked AI when it thinks the government shutdown will end. Gemini thinks Thursday. Why Thursday? Because mounting pressure to get it done before the SNAP food stamps expire. You know, and so mounting pressure to get it done. They said historically during shutdowns, when most shutdowns end is when there's enough mounting public pressure for it to end, right, on either side. And one of the big catalysts for that specifically is the SNAP expiry. Food stamps, you know, they're not going to be paying out food stamps if they don't get a deal done. And so, and again, we even had them basically come out saying that they were not going to, like, they're not going to give money to that unless we get a deal done. And so it thinks Thursday the government shutdown is going to end. Yeah, 11/1 is technically the deadline, so that's Saturday. Any reports today at 8:30? I don't think so. We're supposed to get GDP tomorrow, PCE. No, we got the Fed meeting today, though. That's the biggest thing. We got the good trades balance. I don't know if that comes out, though. I'll have to look. Yeah, and again, gold's back over 4,000. Shutdown will continue until it's the longest in history at 35 days. Walmart. Do you think there will be an announcement on trade in China meeting? Yeah, I think there will be. I hope. Look, people are talking about a correction. One of the things that could correct markets. Thursday, U.S. president, Chinese president are supposed to meet. I think in South Korea is where they're meeting. If we do not get a deal done, I'm not talking about a framework. I'm talking about if we have to extend again past November 1st, and we do not get a trade deal done with China, that's announced somewhere around then, markets could correct. That's one of the things that could cause that's one of the catalysts that could cause a correction in markets. We have extended the deadline for U.S.-China deal months and months and months at this point in time. Every time we get to the deadline, we extend it again. Get to the deadline, extend it again. Get to the deadline, extend it again. We've heard so many different things like, oh, a deal's basically done, and all this stuff, and that's good. And markets have flown on that news. But one of the things that could cause it is if we don't get a deal done, even though everybody's already baked in, like the market's already baked into a potential U.S.-China trade deal. If we don't, I still think we might go up if they announce one. But if we don't get a deal done, yeah. I'm talking about China in the U.S. I'm talking about U.S.-China. What exactly causes quantitative tightening to end? Well, quantitative tightening is basically where the Fed, essentially, I think what the Fed's doing is passive QT. So they basically let their bond holdings mature and run off, right? That's basically stopping that. Stopping the reduction of their balance sheet, where they basically keep their balance sheet even, is what ending QT would be. It would be a dovish restrictive thing. Like the Fed, like quantitative easing is what sometimes follows this, which is money printing. QE is where they create online money basically, and then use that online money to buy up a bunch of bonds and MBSs. This expands their balance sheet and injects liquidity into those markets, and the cause and effect of that helps kind of keep interest rates lower and bring interest rates down faster. QE is a desperate thing, though, a lot of the time. The opposite of that is where the Fed essentially restricts its balance sheet, and that takes liquidity away, And we've been doing QT, I think, since 2022 or 2023. I think it's been since 2022. I think inflation spiked. CPI inflation spiked up to almost 10% in 2023, right? And so people started fearing inflation, and reasonably so. I mean, we had a lot of inflation that happened from 2020. 2020 happened. Fed brought rates to zero, basically. Printed a bunch of money, did quantitative easing, sent out stimulus checks, supply chain problems, and all this other stuff, right? I've talked about this a lot, but all of that stuff caused inflation. By 2 years later, in 2022, inflation had spiked. People kind of freaked out over the inflation that we were seeing. And so that's when the Fed kind of pivoted from, prior to that, they were pretty dovish, like loose. They had low interest rate environment. They were doing all these different things. They did quantitative easing. By 2022, when inflation spiked, they pivoted to QT. And they raised rates a bunch in 2022 as well. And then they also did quantitative tightening. And so it pivoted to a hawkish phase by the Federal Reserve, right? And that hawkish phase ended mostly at the end of last year. We cut rates 3 times. Right, but prior to that, we had paused rates after raising them to restrictive levels for like a year straight. But we kind of pivoted back to a little bit more loose monetary policy. We started lowering rates late last year, and then we essentially paused rates most of this year and started doing the same thing. We started lowering rates September, today probably, and then again in December probably. Right, so I get it. We're probably going to do 25, 25, 25, which is 25 last meeting, basis point cut, 25 basis point cut today, and maybe ending quantitative tightening. And then depending on where we're at, probably another one in December, but it depends on where we're at. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, Fiserv had really bad numbers as well. If you look at what they missed, what is it? Yeah. Not even showing this on my charts for FISV Fiserv. Hey, look. What's the symbol for Fiserv? I'm not even seeing it. US will never give. Yeah, maybe. It's definitely possible, Sam. It just depends on if we get a deal done. You know, I think the market's baked into a US-China deal based off of the verbiage we've seen in markets over the last, like, week. But if we don't get a deal done, that's where we could pop off, or pop down, I should say. The FI? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I mean, this is a rough company. Earnings were bad, though. Look at this, down to $86 a share. If we look at FISV earnings, they missed EPS and revenue. So they're dropping significantly here. Is this an EV company? What is this? Is the Beyond Meat squeeze done? Yeah, it is. Try to tell people, man. I've seen these so much. Like, you see these big squeezes very often. They never hold. Familiar with Canada? Yeah, Canada, I mean, no offense to my Canadians. And it's an important deal too, but it's not nearly as important as US-China deal. The Canada deal is important, not nearly as important as US-China. Alright, so Apollo, Blackstone, and Ares said they had no investments in First Bands when it filed for bankruptcy, and private credit financing for the company was low according to their leaders. So I did PT yesterday. Apparently I'm allowed to walk normal now, but like I still got to get used to walking normal. It's crazy, like I've walked in like some type of weird assisted boot slash thing for a month now. And I almost can't remember how to walk normal. Like I had to tell the PT lady, I was like, look, help me walk. What am I doing wrong? Like what am I missing with a normal walk? I think I'm just hesitant. I think it's called kinesiophobia, where you're nervous to like put weight on things. Even though my knee feels fine. She did a bunch of tests on my foot and my knee. She said they're strong. They feel fine. It's good. Top 3 best knees ever, she said. All right, guys, listen, it's now 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. Yeah, Putin's been talking a lot this morning, too. All right, so I asked AI. The good trades ballot's not coming out today. It's usually released by the U.S. Census Bureau and Economic Analysis Bureau. Both of these are shut down and suspended. The original report was scheduled for today at 8:30. But like GDP, PCE reports later this week, they are now delayed. No GDP, no PCE report until the government resumes here. Knees weak, arms heavy. You know, vomit on my sweater already. Is that it? I can't remember the quote. Mom's spaghetti. That's all I know. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Nasdaq bouncing right here at the 200 exponential. Who said that's my story and I'm sticking to it? Was it Dave Chappelle? And Half Baked? I think it was. I think it was Dave Chappelle. Uber plans to offer driverless rides in San Francisco next year, losing Lucid motor vehicles and autonomous driving. Okay, thank you, Pew Pew. Delays, that's right. Well, what'd you do, Richard? Richard said 2 years ago, hurt my knee, still not right. Yeah, I mean, none of mine was that bad. Like, mine was mostly partial tear, MCL. Partial tear in foot. No displacement or anything. It was fine. Look at Fiserv. $85 a share. Fiserv, $85 a share. Again, y'all do me a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button here already. We appreciate it. It's going to be a busy day streaming. We're going to stream all this stuff live as we always do. What's up, Chef? All right, guys. Fiserv getting destroyed here again. Gold back over 4,000. Will gold push back up to all-time highs this year? That's a question I'm going to ask in the chat. Gold break all-time highs this year in chat. I'm not doing plasma. The only way I would do plasma, I talk to the doctor, is if my meniscus starts bothering me, but so far it hasn't. You know, like none of it was full tears or ruptures or anything like that. Like, it was just partial. I'm doing a BPC 157 though. I am doing that. Not doing HGH. All right, so we asked the question. Chef said yes. Graf said yep. Pew said yep. James said yes. Matthew says yes. Mark says 100%. Graf says impossible not to. Impossible is a strong word right now. 5,000 by the end of the year? Really? Y'all think gold's going to break 5K this year? I don't know. It could. It could. I think a lot of it depends on the next week or two. A lot of it depends on the next week or two. Will gold break all-time highs again this year? All-time highs, I think, are like, what, 4,400 for gold? Yeah, 43.98. Here's all-time highs right here. This is gold futures. Pretty extended still. Yeah. All right, guys, it's the FOMC day today. SOFR rises to 4.31%, which is the highest since before the September 17th Fed rate cut. All right, so U.S. inflation came in softer than expected. Headline CPOs rose 0.3% on Friday. Core cooled to 3% as well, year over year. Again, people were arguing it would be so bad. Like, Friday happened. It was surprising how many people were emotional about this, right? And it really, to be honest, is political. I'm neutral in politics. I really am neutral. 3 out of 4 of the CPI prints were lower than the previous and lower than expected. 1 was higher than expected, flat, I believe. Let me see which one. I'll have to go back and look at the profile here. But most of them were lower than expected. It's surprising how many people were yelling at me that inflation was high. I'll even agree that inflation isn't low. It's over 3%, but lower than last time and lower than expected in 3 out of 4 of them. The only one that was higher than expected, but the only thing that was higher than last time, it was still lower than expected. It was expected at 3.1. Headline CPI year over year showed up at 3%. Previous was 2.9%. That was the only one that was higher than last time. CPI month over month, which is usually a little bit more influential, as well as core CPI year over year and month over month, were lower than last time and lower than expected. So people get emotional about it, but that's the real CPI report. And again, I think that basically confirmed a rate cut today. I think that's the reason we're 99.9% likely to cut rates today, is because that CPI print didn't show too much risks to inflation. There's still risks. I don't like it to see inflation over 3% though. But I knew that was going to be lower. Yeah, I mean, I told people, like, people asked me what it was, what they thought it would be for CPI, and I told them I thought it would be 3.1 or 3%. And that's what it was. It was 3%. We had some wild votes too. People were voting on super high, super low. But yeah, we were 3%. Gordon Ryan got lucky you injured your meniscus. He did get lucky, bro. Gordon Ryan and Derek Moneyberg. I was gonna put socks on, go into the gym, and flying armbar. Basically, I did this on purpose just to help them, because I'm a nice guy. Gold at 4,030 here. Nvidia started to dip down, so Nvidia's over $200 a share. Psychologically, I think the market wanted that. Another psychological level I've been talking about, the S&P, very close to 7,000, very close to 7K. 69,049.25. Again, 69,435 right now, 44. What do you think about Open? I appreciate the donation, Justin. Thank you, sir. I think Open technically looks good. I'm not telling you to buy it. It's kind of sketchy, to be honest. Wild swings. I think the technical chart, this looks good. This looks like a flag almost on a daily or weekly chart. The problem with Open is the business viable? I think Zillow tried the same thing and failed. And Zillow's the largest one of the largest real estate companies in the world. And so if Zillow, a much larger, much more bankroll heavy company, tried this business and failed, Open Door, it might be running on momentum. Momentum technically looks good, but the problem is that the long-term viability of the business is still questionable, right? And I hope it succeeds. It's not like I want it to fail. I'm not going to short Open, but I'm also not going to buy it when it's up, hundreds and hundreds of percent. I think there's risks in doing so, but I'm watching it for sure, and I, hope you guys make money on it. What the heck is going on right now? Sorry. I'll put this playlist on, and I just kind of randomly pick one, and then they'll throw some weird stuff in there. Yeah, so there's Open, and then the other one was ASST. I don't know as much about this one. This one looks, I'll tell you this looks like a terrible penny stock company that doesn't hold. So this thing looks pump and dump, fail, pump and dump, fail, pump and dump, fail, right? Maybe it pumps again. I don't know. But in hindsight, I mean, the historicals in the long-term chart looks absolutely horrible for ASST. Looks like a terrible penny stock that can't hold. And again, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Most of these penny stocks, terrible companies, right? They also put out this hyper persuasive marketing where they talk about it like it's the next Amazon or Apple or Google or next big tech company. 90+% of the time, that's not true. Most of the time, they're full of crap. And most of the time, it's just a bunch of traders who are sitting in it, bag holding losses, trying to talk a bunch of other traders into buying it. And again, Apple doesn't need to talk you into buying the stock like that. Amazon doesn't need to talk you into buying the stock like that. The only people that need to talk you into buying those stocks are people that are sitting on wildly depreciating assets. So buy what you want to buy. I don't like ASST right here. Be smart. I don't know what it's going to do. Not an investment. All right. 27,000. Get Bitcoin up to 113s. Gold's starting to creep back up again this morning here. Nasdaq's consolidating. Generally during the Hey, thank you for the other $5, Justin. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, I'm not about trading penny stocks. I'm just never. Again, I think penny stocks a bunch of gurus put out a bunch of really sensationalized marketing. They'll throw like 5 or 6 or 7 penny stocks up there, and then one of them will run. The other 5 will fail. And then they'll hyper focus on the one that runs, and then they'll act like they called it. They'll be like, look, I called this. It's like, well, you mentioned it in a watch list, but the other 5 you mentioned failed, and one of them ran. You're going to try to act like somehow that means, you know, most people following you made money. Most people following you probably lost money because they bought the other 4 or 5 that you mentioned that failed. And then they sell you courses on how to do it. It's just a really sleazy place. I'm not really about penny stock trading. I think it just kind of gets a bunch. I traded penny stocks when I first got started day trading. And I'm here to tell you, it's a sketchy market to try to trade. There's not really much viable edge. It's pretty low probabilities. But I appreciate the donation, Justin. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, gold up to 4,040. Yeah, y'all hit that like button. We appreciate it. We got over 800 here already. It's not even 8:30 yet, so thank you, chat. We appreciate it. All right, guys. Will the Nasdaq continue here? Yeah, it's the FOMC rate cut today, guys. Y'all be careful. Semiconductors have been flying, dude. Again, y'all just be careful. Not sure where we stand at the moment. Also have to factor in the holiday rally. Do we have to come down heavy before up again? Markets are going crazy high if we get a couple rate cuts at Xmas rally. I mean, I think rate cuts are priced in. If we take a look at the odds for rates right now, right? If you take a look at the odds for rates, if we look at December odds, in December it's looking pretty likely we're going to cut rates in December as well. At this point in time, there's an 85% chance that we cut rates in December as well. 99.9% chance that we cut rates today, and then an 85% chance that we cut rates in September. And so again, I told you after the last Fed meeting, I thought we were going to do 25, 25, 25, which means 25 last month, 25 this month, 25 in December. Small rate cuts. Maybe we in QT. I'm not sure about that one yet. I'm not really torn on that. Powell came out. Look at gold break highs of the day. Powell came out during what did he do? He did one of his what did Powell come out saying? When was the last speech from Powell? Powell had a public speech not that long ago, a couple weeks ago. And during that public speech, Powell put out a press report, and he essentially said that we would probably end quantitative tightening in the next couple months. But he wasn't specific about when it would be. JP Morgan came out last week saying they think we're going to end QT today. So again, we will see whether we end QT today. That's what they're thinking. Is that a fireplace behind you? Yeah, bro. I started a fire back there. You know, it's a little fire though. It's like this big. I went outside, got some leaves, you know, some sticks, and you know, it was cold. So, you know, in my office, in my kitchen. This is my kitchen apparently. So, you know, the cook of Wall Street. Yeah, it was some type of economic forum. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to get this one correct. Yeah, I mean, again, you'd be surprised at how many people bet against the most probable odds in these things. Like every single rate decision, somebody's telling us that we're going to do the, like, look, if it's 99.9% to 1, you'd be surprised at how many people tell you that we're going to actually pause. right? You'd be surprised at how many people pick this option right here, you know? The 0.1% likelihood. And then when it doesn't happen, they scream manipulation, which is funny too, you know? I've said it once, I'll say it again. Nobody cries manipulation more than somebody that's wrong about a prediction. And still true, still true. Gold pull it back a little bit. But gold broke highs of the day again. If we look at a 5-minute chart, gold's been ripping up this morning. Nvidia's one to watch though. Nvidia 208s, over 200s. Can you smell what the John is cooking? I like it. John the Kind. Yeah, I think if QT ends, Bitcoin's gonna go up. Probably. We don't know for sure. Bitcoin and crypto want easing. I heard it was altcoins more than Bitcoin, but I think Bitcoin and crypto want easing. And so I think you know, yeah, I think ending QT might make crypto people optimistic. We might see some buys show up. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen. I don't really know, but I think we could see a dynamic like that. Yes. Video looks like it's gonna continue to rally. We're just getting squeezed out. 4-year rate cuts. We'll hit all-time highs before open and then going down. I don't know. I mean, we're close enough to all-time highs. All-time highs on the NASDAQ are right here. 26,309 is the all-time high right there. So that's the all-time high. We're close enough to it where I think we might test it. Not for sure, though. Yeah, I mean, if Powell does pause today, right? Like, listen, it could happen. It's unlikely to, but unlikely doesn't mean impossible. You know, so it's improbable. It's not impossible. So Powell could pause today and make me eat my words. It hasn't happened in a year plus of FOMC decisions, but if it does happen today, market's going down, most likely. I don't know for sure. Not an investment professional. If Powell pauses today, markets are going down. You know. Now, you know, again, some other things that could cause a correction. U.S.-China deal. Both presidents are set to meet Thursday in South Korea. If we do not get a finalized deal from that meeting, markets are probably going down. If we have to extend the deadline for a U.S.-China trade deal, markets are probably going down. You know, not necessarily 100% though. Like markets can react in all kind of irrational ways. What's the quote? Markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Very true. Shorts probably feeling that a little bit right now with how much the NASDAQ and everything's been breaking all-time highs. If we get QT, it will go out the same time with the 25 basis points. Or Powell will say this after in the speech. We already have QT. So again, we already have quantitative tightening. We are already doing quantitative tightening right now in markets. Right, so the markets are already QT, or markets ending QT is the big announcement, and it would happen at 2 p.m. if they announced it. It would be in their statement. So it would be at 2 p.m. when the announcement drops. That's when they would say, hey, we're ending quantitative tightening. You know, because again, if you look at the last FOMC, let me show you. So if we look at the last FOMC meeting, here's the statement from the September meeting right here. Here's the statement from the September meeting. If we look at the statement, we scroll down here. The committee will continue reducing its holdings of Treasury security and agency debt and MBSs. The committee is strongly committed. So this basically means, right here, that they're still doing quantitative tightening, you know. So again, reduce holdings of Treasury securities and agency debt, agency MBSs. That's quantitative tightening. So they're basically, we're going to continue QT, is what they said in the last statement. If they end QT, it's going to be somewhere most likely in this paragraph in the next one, right? In the one coming out. We're going to break it down as soon as it happens. So you won't need to look it up yourself because we'll figure it out probably before then. But yeah. Yeah, so if we stop quantitative tightening, it's going to be somewhere in this statement. Another bear case is government shutdown. Jay Powell could say we don't have the current data to confirm a rate cut this month. Yeah, show, but I think in that situation, it would be more so. I think if we don't have data, we have to go with the status quo. Right? What's the status quo? A 25 basis point cut. Right? Because I think if we don't have the data, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go with the status quo. Yeah, so if we don't have the data, we're going to go with the status quo, which is a 25 basis. Nvidia fading back down this morning a little bit here. AbbVie announces positive top-line results for phase 3 study for adults and adolescents. We had some Uber news this morning. I'm checking to see anything else we got, but Boeing shares down 1% pre-market after company takes a nearly $5 billion charge off delays by delaying their 777X jet program. Spot silver up to almost $50 an ounce again. All right, so China just purchased 180,000 tons of soybeans, their first order in months ahead of tomorrow's president meeting. India and European Union made progress in trade talks, working towards balanced agreement, they say. And China purchasing 180K worth of soybeans, which is a good sign. That's a good sign. China deal coming. Will we get a U.S.-China deal? I'll do another question here. Will we get a finalized U.S.-China deal for Friday? Again, will we get a finalized U.S.-China deal before Friday? Let me know in chat. Again, I asked AI this morning when the U.S. government shutdown would end. They think it's going to end Thursday. Thursday to Friday, they said, basically. They said it could be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Okay, so I asked people, will we get a finalized U.S.-China deal before Friday? Most people say no. You guys agree? If we don't get a finalized U.S.-China deal done before Friday, I think that's bad. I think we got problems. I think market's going down if we don't. I think that's look, we got a couple things hanging over our head today in terms of markets. One of them, U.S.-China deal. Presidents are supposed to meet Thursday. I think China buying 180,000 tons of soybeans is good, right? It's a positive sign for it. But if for some reason we don't get a finalized deal done and we have to push it back again, I think that's bad. Markets might react negatively. Government shutdown could potentially end this week. You could argue either side for gold. I think gold might go up or down on that news. I'm not really sure. We got big tech earnings today and tomorrow, which are huge. You know, Microsoft, Meta, Google earnings today. Tomorrow, I believe we have Apple, Amazon. So big earnings today, tomorrow. Again, we have the SNAP deadline, the food stamp expiry. Saturday, technically, it's November 1st. Friday's the last day of this month. If that expires and we don't get a government shutdown, you know, CR or ending of the government shutdown, that could cause problems. We got the Fomc decision today. It's pretty likely we cut rates 25 basis points. If that doesn't happen, if we don't cut 25 basis points, again, markets are probably going down. But again, I wouldn't say, like, I'd say it depends right now. We got a lot of question marks about all this stuff. We don't really know what we're going to get. Thursday, we have Mag 7 earnings. Strong. The Thursday, we have Amazon and Apple. Today, we've got Microsoft, Meta, Google. Thursday, we have Amazon and Apple. Those are Mag 7. Apple's one of the more heavily weighted stocks in the market. Yeah, basically, Jensen came out yesterday saying that their business overseas is basically in China is basically nothing. Like that they're not really selling anything there with the restrictions. And so if that unlocks, yeah, I mean we could see big runs. Sure. Powell's not stepping down. Powell's term runs out May of 2026. So like yesterday and the day before, we've heard the president say Powell's only got months left, and he's right. We have however many months is that until May. So we have 7 months left of Powell. What we got? 7 months. 7 months left with Powell. Powell steps down in 7 months. Yeah, this week is wild. If he wasn't going to cut, they would have intentionally leaked that out like they've done numerous times in the past. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's very, very probable we're going to cut rates 25 basis points today. I think if we do anything out that, it's going to shock the market, and Powell doesn't necessarily like to shock the market. So I think it's very, very likely that we cut rates 25 basis points today. Vincent heading to South Korea to meet the presidents. Nvidia's 208 without a deal. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I think if we get a US-China deal, markets might rip up again. CVX expects to provide 2026 guidance in December. Yeah, Fiserv, but terrible reaction in markets. Fiserv down. All right, guys. So again, we don't really have any data coming out today. Again, good trades balance was scheduled to release. I don't think it's coming out. We got the Bank of Canada interest rate decision today, though. So we do have the Bank of Canada rate decision. See if that moves anything. That's supposed to be at 9:45 market time, so we still got some time before that. It's 15 minutes after the bell. They're expected to cut rates 25. We got some tech earnings tomorrow as well. He wasn't gonna cut, yeah. Hey, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna do another poll. We asked people, would the Fed cut 25 basis points today? It's surprising that 14% of people think no. If you're one of those people that think we're not going to cut rates today, explain yourself. I get it. You might say, hey, the government shut down, so we're not going to do what the most probable thing is. I understand that argument, I guess. I think it's low odds of that happening, but it's not impossible for that to happen. 7 months is going to get interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens in 7 months, too. I mean, we're just going to get a new Fed chairman, though, and then I'll pivot to covering their stuff, their speeches. Yeah, guys, listen, we got almost 1,000 here. And we only need about 100 subs to get 167,000. We're very close. Very close. If we don't cut rates today, Bitcoin will go to 80K. Yeah, I think markets are going to react negatively if we don't cut rates, which is why I think it's probably going to happen. Yeah, so again, we didn't get any import-export data. Didn't really get any market movement for 8:30. Again, the big story of the day is the FOMC decision later. I said Fubo completes business combination with Disney's Hulu Plus Live TV. All right, guys. And again, we got the FOMC decision today, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Printing something. All right, let me check this. All right, NASDAQ back down to 26,000, under the 200 exponent. Again, so now OpenAI doesn't have to use Microsoft Azure anymore. They're able to kind of go around. We saw big increases in Microsoft yesterday. NVIDIA bouncing back up at the VWAP there. NASDAQ still breaking down though. Again, Fed widely expected to shut rates, even though it's kind of flying blind. We do have ADP data. Again, and this is why I think it's more likely that we're going to cut rates. This is why I think it's most probable we're going to cut rates. Right? I think ADP came out yesterday. And they came out and they said a couple different things. Look at the NASDAQ fall here. ADP came out yesterday. They said a couple different things. One of the things they said is that now weekly, U.S. Agricultural Roland's minister, I think this China soybean buy is a positive step for U.S. farmers. But basically, I think that ADP came out yesterday, so hold on. According to Axios, Nvidia reportedly backs a new data center to reduce electricity spikes. According to Axios sources, company is deploying software developed by startup Emerald AI at a facility. Anyways, going back to what I said, ADP data came out yesterday, right? And now ADP said that they are going to be releasing this report weekly. They came out yesterday saying that the 4-week, basically the monthly jobs gains for private payrolls was only about 14,000. And so again, during the shutdown, they said private jobs created about 15,000 jobs per. Oh wait, is it per week over the past 4 weeks, according to new prelim data released by ADP? Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. Apparently, this is private sector employers added an average of 14,250 jobs per week, according to new prelim data being released by ADP. And now they're going to also release this report weekly, so it's going to give me more stuff to talk about, because next week we got ADP data on Tuesday and Wednesday. We got more jobs data. ADP's near real-time employment data released weekly will now provide an even clearer picture of the labor market at this critical time for the economy, providing a dynamic view of job creation. Let me check ADP's actual site here. I was going to say, it was weak at only 14,000 jobs, but this might be a weekly report. Hey. All right, guys. Yeah, I'm trying to find the jobs report that they showed up yesterday. But yeah. Lost 1,000 in the SPY, seeing some selling pressure. Yeah, look at the NASDAQ come down here. Yeah, I don't think they're going to pause. Your mic is so pretty today. Yeah, I'm in all messages, sorry. Santander Brazil CEO says company sees deterioration in some portfolios due to the macro environment, but does not believe in a credit crisis. So that just came out. I'm looking at Nvidia. Nvidia's kind of dropping down some here. Nasdaq's falling down a little bit. I think we got to look at Apple, Microsoft as well. Look at Microsoft's movement here. It popped up big at the opening bell yesterday. It kind of faded back down some now. It's kind of sitting quietly here. But ADP data has actually been pretty accurate though. Pretty accurate. Okay, so here's the weekly report that ADP put out yesterday here, just to verify for you guys. This is the report for ADP yesterday. And again, now they're going to be releasing this weekly. It's at least going to be, this is kind of, just to put this into perspective, this is kind of replacing jobless claims until the shutdown ends. Right, we don't have jobless claims every Thursday like we normally do, but now we're going to get ADP every Tuesday. So again, prelim U.S. estimate of an average increase of 14,250 jobs in the 4 weeks ending October 11th. So this is my question. When you guys read this, does this make you think monthly or weekly? Because look, it says prelim U.S. estimate of an average increase of 14,250 jobs in the 4 weeks ending October 11th. To me, that sounds like that's the 4-week number. If that's the 4-week number, it's weak. 14,000 jobs is not very much in 4 weeks. Now, if that's the average weekly number, which I'm trying to see, I don't really see that anywhere. But I think markets have interpreted this. A lot of news sources have interpreted this as to mean the average monthly report, which is interesting. Let me look deeper. Ask AI. Yeah, some months have 5 weeks. I mean, 4 weeks is 28 days, so yeah, 4.5 weeks is a month. But essentially, it would be closer to a month's time. Yeah, no, I've been talking about the ADP data being a little bit more accurate. It really was. Like, the ADP data had it at -33 one time. And then the actual, like, payroll report had it, like, much higher. And then the next report we got revised the previous one down a bunch. So ADP had turned out to actually be correct in their report. Maybe you could argue this is going to be better than jobless claims, too. NASDAQ's still falling down a little bit here. Yeah, okay, so AI says this is the average weekly number. I don't know why they phrase it like that, but yeah, now it's going to be coming out. I mean, I wouldn't say this is strong jobs, right? So if this is the average weekly number, it would put labor slightly under 60,000 for the full week period. You know, maybe slightly over 60 for the month. If that's normal, that's still not strong necessarily. So it depends. Like, either way, 60,000 is still not the strongest. Better than 14,000 though. Yeah, I saw the Fubo Hulu merge complete. They've never cut during a shutdown. Well, there's a lot of firsts with this shutdown. This is the longest full shutdown in history. Right, and what do I mean by full shutdown? I mean the last longest shutdown that's lasted 35 days. The last one, most of these deals were already done. So they had already had budgets. They had already had a lot of these deals done. Because the last one, you know, it wasn't the full shutdown that we're seeing now, right? They had already made a lot of these deals done. So they had already guaranteed funding in a lot of ways. And so, yeah. And the reason it was the longest shutdown historically was because we had the holiday break. You know, it was right around Christmas and the holidays. So we had the holiday break last time. This one's different. This one we couldn't get a deal done before September 30th, and now it's dragging on. It's the longest full shutdown in history, and it's edging towards the longest technical shutdown in history as well. So just to put that into perspective, the differences between the last one, which is 2018, 2019. Yeah. Microsoft CEO is going to visit India in December and meet government officials, according to Reuters. NASDAQ started to fade back down a little bit here. All right, so 79% of consumers are expecting prices to be higher because of tariffs. Ray Dalio said 60% of the American population has below 6th grade reading level. I find that hard to be true. Coming for the top 3 greatest reader ever, that seems wrong. You know, my wife's in here printing something. She looked, as soon as I said that, she looked at me. Bro, I would say my reading level is at least 8th grade. All right, we got a 6th grader here, guys. Jack, would you consider my reading level higher than 6th grade? Probably. Not as definitive as I want it to be, but I accept that. That's okay. You're supposed to be like, yeah, man, your reading level is better than Harvard students. That's right. One of the most enhanced readers ever. That's right. That's right. Look at this library. I gotta be a great reader, right? Chat, let me know how good my reading level is right now. All right, buddy. I love you, man. Have a good day at school. Hey, bud. Slept in. I love you. Have a good day. All right. Yeah, top 3 greatest readers ever. Probably. I know that one hurt a little bit. He's supposed to definitively, he should have said. Yeah, he came in at the perfect time. The perfect time. He's in 6th grade. You know, 6th grader there. All right, Nasdaq's still falling down though. Look at this. We're still dropping here. Look at Nvidia here, chat. Low 7s. This drop is mostly from Nvidia. It looks like it could also be from Microsoft. We could also look at Apple, Google, AMD. A lot of these are fading down some here. Again, usually during the FOMC day, it's kind of flat and choppy and boring. So that's kind of what we're seeing now, I think. Private Catholic school? That's cool. I mean, Nvidia today. I think Nvidia is interesting. It's over $200 a share. A lot of people are watching it, but look at these moves. This is look at Nvidia in the middle chart right here. That level right there is 5 days ago. 6 days ago, right here. So here's 1024. Look at these moves. Percentage-wise, these are big moves. People were saying Nvidia was underrepresented, that it only made small moves over the last few years. And I think Nvidia is back up to 210. I think a lot of people are watching it today. A lot of deals for microchips, a lot of AI optimism coming through today. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily strong, even with it being a weekly number. 14,000 would be about 60K. Yeah, bud. Oh. Alright, bro. I love you, dude. Good day, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where Nvidia is going today. What I do know is that it's over $200. Bitcoin's still sitting pretty good. Gold is up there as well. Look at gold. 79% of consumers are expecting prices to be higher from tariffs. Maybe, yeah. I say Nvidia. Yeah, gold up to 4,000 plus. It has pulled back a decent percentage though, but I mean, we could also be just in this range here. I think if you look at gold, I think you could also say, okay, well, here's the top trend. Here's the bottom trend down here. We're just trending down still. I think you could argue that as well. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I think you probably argue it at least. Oh my gosh, I hate this song. What a ridiculous song for them to throw in here, bro. Like, I gotta delete this song. I gotta figure out a way to, like, get rid of this song. Like, move it away. I don't like this song. It's such a ridiculous song. They throw that in there. I gotta go to my normal songs now. It's too crazy. Oh, that song is just too crazy. I don't know why they threw that thing in there. Nvidia is telling you there's a deal with China. I think a lot of this stuff is overbought. I think they're waiting for a catalyst to bring it back down. Maybe. This song's fine. What time is the rate? You gotta be trolling me. Look at the title for the stream, sir. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, rate decision. We'll figure out whether they're ending quantitative tightening during that period as well. So we'll see if they're ending QT. Third highest reading level on YouTube. Definitely third largest reading knowledge that's in the world. Our Nasdaq pouncing back up a little bit here. Bitcoin's still pretty flat. It is the rate decision today, so we'll see what happens, but it's pretty. Math question for the chat: if I'm 2 minutes behind the live stream and I switch to 1.5x speed, how long before I catch up? So you're going 50% faster, so would that be 1 minute? Is that wrong? $1.5x would be 50% faster time, so if you got 2 minutes left, that would bounce it up to 1 minute. I don't know, that's the math in my head. It might be wrong though. I was never good at those. Ain't nobody got time for that? Nobody gonna tell me whether I'm right? Here, let me ask AI. All right, like I gotta resort to asking AI. All right, Nasdaq back up almost to the 200 exponential. I'm gonna go with 1 minute. 1 minute seems logical to me. 50% increase in time. 1.5x. Hello? Oh, crap, dude. Here, you need me to go do it? Alright. Alright, I'm sorry. Maddie should have done it last night. Alright, love you. Bye. Alright, sorry. It's trash day. No, but I expect you guys to remind me if it's trash day. Yeah, that would be 2x. I think I got it wrong. AMD earnings on November 4th. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Do you think it's possible for Nvidia to retrace to $204 today? I mean, yeah, it's possible. I wouldn't say it's necessarily improbable either. I think it could certainly happen considering how much Nvidia's up. I think we have big tech earnings today that might move things, and even though none of them are directly tied to Nvidia, they're gonna move Nvidia at least a little bit in terms of sympathy. So we have Google, Meta, and is it Microsoft earnings today? Is it Google, Meta, and Microsoft? Yeah, Microsoft, Meta, Google today. Here's a question. Which one do you guys think is the most influential? Meta? Yeah. What's the point of having kids if you still have to take the trash out? It's not even that. Like, usually the trash getting taken out is my job. The problem is right now I've got a bum leg. And I can't really walk normal or lift heavy things. And so, you know, I can't really do my normal job right now. Unfortunately. Or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it. I'm a chronic optimist. So, fortunately, or unfortunately, I can't take the trash out anymore. And like I said, I'm making my family. I'm milking this. You know, I bought a bell. Amazon's not today. Amazon's tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, my math on the math problem was assuming that the stream didn't continue. So, but the stream continued, so that's what I didn't take into account. If it was just how long would it take to get to this point 2 minutes later in the stream, then it would have been a minute, but because of that. Wait, is the stream good? Can y'all hear me? It says we have no drop frames. There we go. Okay, we're good. Yeah, honestly, it's super strange. Let me exit out of some stuff. I don't even have that much stuff up, but as long as the stream's running good. What's your prediction on SPY movement post-market rate cut? I think it depends on whether we end quantitative tightening or not. I think a rate cut's already baked in right now. And so I think what is going to determine the market reaction is going to be whether we end quantitative tightening today. If we end QT, I think we're going to get a much more bullish reaction. I think that's going to be a much more optimistic thing, and I think markets are going to go up. If we don't end QT and we still do a 25 basis point cut, which could happen certainly, I don't know what we're going to do. I think we're kind of baked in, so I think we could go either way from that. I think if we pause unexpectedly, markets are going down, probably. At this point in time, it's 99.9% likely that we cut, but, you know, it's not impossible. It's just improbable for us to pause today. So I don't think we're going to pause. What I do know is that if we do pause, everybody's going to say, I told you so, you know. I don't think we're going to do a 50 basis point cut either. I think that's completely out the picture. I think almost everybody understands we're not going to cut 50 right now. And we're not going to raise rates. Neither of those things are going to happen today just because we're in the midst of a government shutdown. We don't really have as much data as we normally do. And so because of that, we're going to do more conservative options. Like we're not going to do 50. We're not going to raise rates. We're going to stick to the status quo, I think, which is a 25 basis point cut. That's my guess. I think 25 basis point cut. I don't know whether we're going to end QT or not. I think that one's kind of ambiguous. I think JP Morgan's the only bank that's really come out saying they think we're going to do that. And maybe they're right. Amazon's tomorrow. Still waiting for somebody to make a robotic trash can. Dude, that robot's gonna get stolen, depending on where you live. $3,000 robotic trash can. Somebody's getting that. You know, I don't know if I trust it. Hope we pause because inflation going back up. We're not gonna pause though. At least it's very unlikely we do. Etsy CEO says they remain cautious about impact of tariffs on consumer discretionary. UBS raises the NVIDIA price target to 235 from 205. NVIDIA hasn't really moved, but again, UBS raising NVIDIA's price target from 235 to 205. Again, NVIDIA now larger than AMD, ARM, ASML, Broadcom, Intel, Lam Research, Micron, QCOM, Taiwan Semiconductors, and more according to Dow Jones market data. Well, obviously, NVIDIA's larger than them. I think those are, everybody already understands NVIDIA's larger than those companies. All right, look at the NASDAQ come back down here. Again, gold's chopping sideways too. Here's a SPY. Look at the SPY's movement. Well, SPY's been breaking all-time highs. Microchip strength is what we're seeing. Michael Burry will definitely say, I told you so. Looks like QT will end in December. Yeah, ask AI. Tell me what's happening to MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy's been dipping since July and August, since crypto started correcting a little bit. It's also a little bit different dynamic than just straight up Bitcoin. But Nvidia's too overpriced and market moving. If it falls, it might catalyze a larger crash. Maybe, it's possible. I mean, Nvidia could be the root of a crash if we get one. If we get a .com like bubble burst. Yeah. Yeah, again, today we got the FOMC rate cut. Second time this year, probably. Government shutdown on day 29. And the data blackout is still here. We got Chair Powell speaking 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. Rate cut decision at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we'll figure out if we're going to end quantitative tightening today. Yeah, one of the biggest questions along with interest rate cut, it is highly likely the Federal Reserve will announce the end of QT today, but it's not guaranteed according to AI. In his speech on October 14th, Powell specifically said the end of QT may be coming into view and could happen in, quote, the coming months. Liquidity in the short-term lending repo market has been tightening. The Fed wants to stop QT before this causes a crisis like one in 2019. Now, whether it's going to end today or December or January is the consensus view for most banks. Okay, so what's most likely is that the Fed is going to announce the end of quantitative tightening, but they're going to announce it at a future date, like in December or January next year. This is what most major banks think. The surprise, which is less likely but still possible, is that the Fed announces that the program will end immediately at the end of this month, which is Friday. Some analysts believe this is a possibility given the market's growing liquidity concerns. And so we should have an announcement for quantitative tightening today, but it might not be ending specific. Like they're going to announce most likely when it's going to end today, but whether it's going to end at the end of this month or the end of December or January is going to be the story to watch for it. All right, guys, Nasdaq's still battling this 200 exponential. Still trying here. All right, Nvidia popping back up though. Look at Nvidia's up here. Nasdaq's still under the 200 exponential moving average, and this is kind of like a milestone level that I watch for the 200 exponential. You look at it right here. Kind of see how markets do respond to it, but we broke down underneath it. We're so close to highs though in the Nasdaq. I do think we're at least going to move up there and test it. Again, here's all-time highs in the NQ. 26,309.75 is the new all-time high in the Nasdaq here. Bitcoin at 113 for Bitcoin futures. SPY sitting very close to 7,000, or the S&P sitting very close to 7,000. I think this is one of the biggest psychological levels in markets right now. If you look at 7K, this is 7,000 on the S&P 500. So depending on what we get today, maybe we're gonna move up and test that. I really don't know, but depending on what we get today, that's possible. Again, video will pop before the open. Do you guys think inflation is bad? Wait till next year with QE again? Yeah. Again, QE can cause inflation faster than anything else. Ugh. A lot of hit 200. Dow climbing. MicroStrategy dependent on Bitcoin's price action. Something people is not talking about is Apple is also a 4 trillion valuation. Yeah, Apple hit a 4 trillion valuation. They're only the second company ever to do it outside of Nvidia. Speaking of Nvidia, look at Nvidia drop right here. Nvidia's falling down. Again, check out TopStep. We're day trading with TopStep's funded account program today. So if you haven't already, check out TopStep. Great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose money, right? So it makes no sense to fund your own account tens of thousands of dollars. Base one on TopStep's $50. You pass it, you get a 50K funded account, 90% split. They pay out millions, fund thousands. You fail, you lose $50. So it's limited risk. Split is 90%. You get to keep your first 10K. Similar reward to funding your own account. Noticeably less risk. Perfect dynamic to learn how to trade. They pay out millions, fund thousands. Day trading the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. Very similar to day trading equities. No PDT rule. They'll get you around the PDT and all that other good stuff. I'll put the link up. You can now reset funded accounts with the same rules and more. Check it out. Here's the link. They're a sponsor of mine. I'm biased. I get paid by them. I don't even claim to be a good trader here, guys. Not an investment professional. They're a sponsor of mine, but genuinely useful, genuinely useful. I'll put the link up. I'll pin it to the top of the chat if you want to help support the channel. We appreciate it. We are heading towards the opening bell today during FOMC day. Curious with the entire market valued so high and never pulling back. How is it still pumping? Like, who has the money to even buy at this point in time? Gotta think people run out or it stalls. Well, yeah, but that's assuming that people don't earn new money. That people aren't able to save new money. Of course they're able to save, right? Some people are selling. But you also have to think of it like this, right? It's compound interest. So let's say you got $30,000. And let's say you earn an average of 9% a year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you remember you had 30. Now you have 46,000, right? And so now you have $16,158 that you can invest now. Again, you do another 5 years, 1, 2, 5. Now you got 71,000. So even if you decided to sell, you know, your original base of 30,000 and you take that away, you're still gonna have $41,000 in equity there. Like, so people earn money either way. Even if you consider inflation, right, which is about what, 3%. So what's this, 10 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Still got 30 grand in profit. So people still earn money. I mean, inflation slows it for sure, but people still earn money. Yeah, again, we're going to be day trading live at the opening bell, so stick around. I expect a big cut? What do you mean? You expect us to cut rates large? I don't think so. We're going to do 25 basis points today and probably announce the end of quantitative tightening. So that's probably what we're going to do. Again, 25 basis point cut, end of QT. Pretty likely that's what we're going to do. Again, NASDAQ's going up. It's at 26,271, back over the 200 exponent. Gold dipped down to under 4,035, under the 200 EMA as well. Apple's still pretty high up there. If you look at Apple over like a 30-minute chart, this thing is run. Trying to see if there's anything I want to buy here. Home Depot's pulling back a little bit. Could add to some of it. My average price is 80s though, so we got a lot of room there. Hit 390s yesterday. I actually think they might pause even possible increase interest rates next year. AI, everyone wants to join and miss once big pops. Yeah, well, the way banks make money from you, right? And I've showed this before, especially if you want to look at like certified deposits or whatever. And this is a simplified version of what they do, right? So a bank says, hey, if you let your money sit in our account, we'll pay you 4% for a certified deposit. And so you got $100,000, you know, you're going to make $4,000 from that, right? The bank is really going to earn, they're going to stick it in the market long term. And so they're going to earn 8, 9, 10% or more, mostly from that money. And then they're going to pay you your little 4% and pocket the difference with using your money and other people's money to do it, right? Like, that's how banks make money. And they make money in a lot of ways, right? But yeah, that's what they do. And so when they pay you your little 4% with the certified deposit or whatever, that's what they're doing. But to be fair, they're taking more risk. It's not their money that they're risking necessarily, but they're taking more risk to do it because, you know, letting your money sit in the S&P 500 earning, you know, 8% a year, 9% a year, you know, you're going to earn about 8% on average a year, but sometimes you have bad years. You know, sometimes you have crashes, sometimes you have bear markets. And so even though the compound, well, I did the math wrong. Even though the compound effect of that is good, right? 100K in 20 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 100K will turn into about 500K in you know, 20 years. So they're going to be making tons of money long term, but there's risks. Still, it's not their money. Interest rates, 70 style inflation. Well, banks aren't necessarily in trouble. Banks, maybe regional banks are struggling, but it's not big banks. All right, Boeing CEO says no new issues with 777 airframe engines is falling behind certification process. Supermicro reports entity to expand further into federal market. They now form new unit to service U.S. government agencies for SMCI here. SMCI on this news is up. So again, Supermicro just reported news that they're going to expand into federal market. They form a new unit to serve as U.S. government agencies for Supermicro semiconductors. They're exploring new manufacturing facilities in the U.S. to meet demands. Also, MicroSailor's MicroStrategy, 70% chance of joining the S&P this year, according to 10x Research. 70% chance. All right, NASDAQ going down. We're at 26,268. Video pulling back. Micro's up on that news. Again, Microsoft. Really interesting chart if you look at a 5-day chart. Popped up big yesterday on the news with OpenAI. Didn't filled about half of the gap on the downside, and now it's sitting right here at 545. I'm watching it at the opening, but we got 18 minutes until the open. Aren't they supposed to release the decision in the morning and statement in the afternoon? No. No, they released the statement at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the press conference starts with Jerome Powell. So the statement's at 2 p.m. The press conference is at 2:30, 30 minutes later. We cover this every 6 weeks. This happens every 6 weeks. So yeah, it's going to be the statement followed by the meeting 30 minutes later at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, look at NVIDIA dip. It's at 208s right now. All right, guys, we got 18 minutes left. Yeah. We're trying to hold here. Let's see if we do. Bull cycle, all the signs are there. Don't freak out. A bull cycle. Crash incoming. I'm scared. I just can't see SPY at 700. Like, is that possible? I mean, yeah, it's possible. I think 700 is even likely this year. 7,000 on the S&P, I think is likely. Gold dipping down a little bit. Nvidia mostly sideways though, and Nvidia's been what's leading the market. How did the market react the last cut? Date September 17th. Look, here's the NASDAQ. September 17th would be September 17th would be right here. Last cut, the market kind of did a little bit of both. So like this candle is from the 17th right here. We mostly ended flat on the day, so it looks like maybe we initially reacted negatively to the last cut and then rebounded back the following days. So last time a lot of the time cuts can be buy the rumor, sell the news though. So like when we actually get the cut announcement, that was the first cut this year. So it's a little bit different dynamic than this one. I think the story today, we're going to cut 25 basis points, and I think that's probably already baked into the market. What's going to move markets is ending QT and win, as well as what Powell says during the press conference is usually what matters the most anyway. So, yeah. What Powell says during the press conference is probably going to move things a little bit more. Yeah, 600 is possible. It's all possible. Asking me whether something's possible is always going to get usually going to get a very similar question or a very similar answer, which is yeah, it's possible. Doesn't mean it's probable. There's a difference between possible and probable. Possible just means could it happen? Sure, it could happen. I could win the lottery. You know, I could win $100 million Friday. You know, or I might not. Probably won't. So there's a difference, but that's not the probable outcome. You know. So asking me if something's possible, I'm usually going to say, yeah, it's possible. But you want to ask me if something's likely. It's a better question. All right, guys, we got 14 minutes until the opening bell. We'll see what we get. They should not end QT. That would be a mistake to me. I mean, they're going to end it, though. We don't have the data to really change that tune either. We got ADP data, which is different, but sometimes more accurate. But we don't have the data to really change that tune. So we got to go with the status quo. Is the way I'm describing it. And I think the status quo is 25 basis point cut. And I think we're also going to end quantitative tightening sometime. I don't know if it's going to be this at the end of this month or December. I think, again, I asked AI this earlier. They said we're probably going to at least announce when we're going to end it today based off of what Powell said previously. So. This cut is different, obviously. This is not the first cut of a cycle. Right. It's just a different thing. Should we do quantitative tightening, chat? Should we do QT? This FOMC is the most important FOMC until the next FOMC. Yeah, that's right. You're against QT? I mean, I'm somewhat against it. I think if you want mortgage rates to drop, you could end QT and MBSs. I think we've mostly reduced Treasury MT or Treasury QT already a couple meetings ago. They reduced Treasury QT by 80% a couple meetings ago. They kept MBS, which is mortgage-backed security, QT full swing though, and so the ending QT would make the biggest effect on MBSs. Whether we should end it, I'm torn on it. I don't want inflation to spike more, so I'm kind of neutral. I think we could or we couldn't. I'm hesitant, but I think considering the weakness in the labor market we've seen over the last 3 months, I think it's probably justifiable. I mean, we could end QT as long as we don't print. Do quantitative easing. It's a different. Usually ending QT means we might be doing QE in the future though. So yeah, so the Senate, again, not scheduled to vote on a continuing resolution today. Senate is not scheduled to vote to fund the government. Yesterday, the Senate held its 13th vote, failed to pass. Still short of 60, 54 to 45, so we're 6 votes short of 60. There are no formal negotiations scheduled between either side to end the stalemate. House remains in recess. Yeah, we're kind of flattening out here. We got the opening bell in 11 minutes, so. Yeah, so ending QT is more of like a move to a neutral stance. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to start printing. It means the Fed will stop actively shrinking its balance sheet. So when bonds mature, the Fed will now use those to buy more bonds, right? Keeping the balance sheet at the same size versus reducing it, which is what QT is. QE would be expanding it, would be buying up, like adding more, you know. This is just replacing old with new and keeping it the same size, if that makes sense, right? So like QT pulls money out of the system, bank reserves are getting low. We've seen stress in overnight repo markets. By ending QT, they're just taking their foot off the brake a little bit. It's not hitting the gas with money printing. Nvidia pumped yesterday on essentially microchip optimism. You know, so we had yesterday a couple different things. We had Microsoft and OpenAI announce a partnership. Microsoft now owns about 28%, 27.5% of OpenAI. They did a deal done. Also, Nvidia and Nokia did a deal done yesterday, or got a deal done yesterday and announced the deal, I should say. And so a lot of optimism in microchips and AI pushing things higher, leading into big tech earnings this afternoon. What's going on? Nvidia rising because of Ant-Man and the quantum realm? Yeah, yes. No, yeah, they had a keynote. We're crazy about mortgage rates. They're not bad at all. What's bad is rent prices and inflation. Yeah. I mean, if we do QE, it's going to get worse for sure. I agree. Nvidia at 208.60s. Ugh. Okay, legs gonna be problems. 22 trillion reported revenue. Nvidia back up to 208.75. So look at the Nasdaq dip here, though. Part of this maybe Apple dipping down. Microsoft. I can't type right now. By Google falling. Meta 752. Mortgage broker. He thinks you won't see mortgage rates under 3%. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Which decision is the most important today? It's pretty likely we're going to cut rates 25 basis points. That's pretty likely. Now, what we do in terms of quantitative tightening is important. Like what the decision is there, when it's going to end. It's not whether we're going to end it, it's when it's going to end. I think it's likely. Powell said last month, or maybe it was earlier this month in one of his speeches, that we're going to end quantitative tightening within the next few months. Right now, we're going to announce when we're going to end it today, most likely. But I think some of the bigger ones, like, I think we're going to cut rates 25 basis points. I think one of the biggest things that's going to move markets is what Powell says today during the actual press conference. That's going to matter a lot. That's going to be important. So what Powell says during the actual press conference is going to influence a lot, I think. It's going to matter. Alright, so NASDAQ popped over. Look at Meta bounce right now. Look at Meta. It looks like it's Nvidia as well. This is Meta, Microsoft. Some type of news just showed up, maybe from microchips. Could be the market on open, actually, is what I'm just now realizing. Should have bought a house when it was at 3%. Yeah, I should have bought Amazon in 2002. You know, but hindsight's 20. Don't stress too much about it. Uh, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the decision starts, guys. Yeah, so 2 p.m. Look at the NASDAQ fall back down here. We still got 4 minutes into the open, 3 minutes really. I'm looking at news right now. Yeah, so again, say Fed poised to cut rates. Nvidia nears $5 trillion valuation ahead of President talks Thursday. All right, so President Trump and President Xi are set to meet at 11 a.m. on Thursday in South Korea. 11 a.m. At 11 a.m. Thursday. All All right, guys, here we go. We got 2 minutes left until the market opens. You can hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. Exciting day for one today, John. Yeah, I'm going to be covering Google earnings after the bell for sure. We're going to cover all the big boys. You know, we got the Fed decision at 2 p.m. The press conference at 2:30, and then afterwards we got Google, Microsoft, and Meta earnings leading into it. So we'll cover all that stuff. Really, I should have streamed. Hey, do me a favor, guys. Hit that subscribe button as well. We are going to stream the full FOMC meeting. Again, we only need like 100 subs to break 167,000. We're very close. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it. Yeah. What happens if we get cuts, trade deals, and QE? Would there even be a negative catalyst anymore? And what are they? I want a market deal. I mean, if we get all that stuff, I don't know. QE would make some markets push up, but it also would make inflation spike. And so I think if we do get negative catalysts from that, it's like inflation spiking. And in that situation, it could be inflation going up. It could be, I mean, we don't know. Sometimes markets just correct, not even needing some big external catalyst. All right, there's the opening bell, guys. Yeah, I think a rate cut's probably priced in. NASDAQ pushing towards all-time highs at the opening bell. Look at this push. Again, we'll watch gold. We'll watch crypto. Nvidia coming down a little bit at the open. Microsoft spiked. A buy close to the bell. See if we make a run towards the open. A little risky. Don't copy me. Very small position. Let's see if we make a run up to that high at the open. That's what I want. I don't usually buy this early or trade this early. There we go. We're getting close to that all-time high up there. That's what I want. There we go. Almost green. There we go. I'm gonna cut a piece of this off. It'd be a little bit too large for me to trade at the opening bell. I just want to see, like, I think it looked likely that we might go test that all-time high up there at the open. We might come right back down afterwards, but all right, good thing we cut a piece of this off. Let's see. Look at Nvidia. You guys a little bit of a sweat at the open with me. It's small though. Alright, I'm gonna cut that right there on that candle. It might fake me out. Very small. So close to the all-time highs. I think that's what a lot of people are looking at. Get Nvidia, guys. Nvidia up to 109.50s here. We took another position here on my main account. We already took a little bit of profit off though. I'll show you guys it, but taking a little bit more risk. We might add back to this contracts here. See if we get a rip back up real quick. There we go. There we go. Let's see if we get a move up there to all-time highs. Yeah, I'm gonna take half off here just to protect it. Get the move we wanted originally. There you go. There you go. I'm gonna cut it right there. If that was maybe a good move. I'll wait a little bit now. I could buy this dip too. Yeah, I usually gotta wait 4 or 5 minutes. We're almost 4 minutes in though. And Nvidia's running up. That's what I'm trying to buy, is Nvidia's strength. If I would have held, it would have worked too. Nvidia's still heading up. Make a pop up here. Made a little bit in our other account too, buying this dip. We're green in 2 out of 3 of the accounts we've tried this on, so it's small, but I want to see if we make a test up there to the all-time high level at the opening bell. I think is the highest chance that we do it, although it could happen anytime. We'll add down on this pullback here. Take 3. I just gotta be careful with this. Running into some support. Not gonna add any more though. Go. Nice. I'm gonna take a little bit off up there. Yeah, we'll start to cut it down here. I mean, we took a little bit of profit once, and then we got out the other piece down. Now we got 1 left. 100 exponential might pop it back up though. Springy on the last wit. I don't think I'm gonna add to this. I think I'm gonna wait. If it heads back up, maybe we'll add to it. But for now, we're just kind of sitting small. Look at Microsoft though. A lot of this is Microsoft is weak and then Nvidia is strong. Right, so if we see Microsoft start to turn back up and Nvidia retains strength, that could be good. Or we could see the opposite. If Nvidia starts to turn and Microsoft stays weak. It is FOMC day though, guys, so we just gotta be careful. If this thing starts to break down under the 200 EMA, we gotta cut it. We made money basically all week this week, so I try to be stubborn with this, but getting close to all-time highs. That's the only reason I'm buying heavy. We're so close to all-time highs. Yeah, I'm gonna cut that right there and then just wait, probably. Put it exponential. I see now we're starting to break. Now Nvidia's starting to fade. So good thing I cut it where I did. I'm just gonna wait now. Nvidia reached 5 trillion. Yeah, the open's pretty small. I mean, this isn't like a big move or anything. Hey, got the trash out. All right, NASDAQ coming back up. I'm wondering how muted the market's going to be today, though, to be honest. It is the FOMC decision day, so we could have chop. Or we could have strength. You know, we're close to all-time highs. A lot of strength coming in. Get back up there. Might buy a little pullback if we get one here. I need a dip though. Maybe a retest of that 200 EMA. Big enough, I think. Oh, here we go. There we go. I took some more off there. I'd add back on the dip. 2. There we go. I get filled on that pop. Very muted open though. I'm gonna cut it here. I don't want to be so stubborn. We're actually still green in this account technically. I don't want to be so stubborn that like I've had a really good week. I don't want to give back profit that I've made this week, so I'm gonna cut it quickly and see what we have. We're kind of chopping sideways though. We haven't really done much since the opening bell, unfortunately. We opened about right here, and that's exactly where we are now. So. We're close enough to all-time highs where I want to see if we make a fight for it, but there we go. All right, look, I'm trading a couple different accounts, trying to limit risk on each. We're up nicely in this one, though. Good. I'm gonna cut that right there. We add back. So choppy right now during the FOMC day. You know, markets are muted ahead. We got big reports. We bounce back up here a little bit. There we go. Half off. Take a third off. See if we fight back up the rest of this candle. Try to cut it break even if not. There we go. Take another piece off up there. Cut it right there. We're green on 2 out of 4 of these funded accounts today. But Oracle default swaps jump on concerns over AI spending spree. Nvidia shares are up. Intel down. It looks strong. The problem, like, look, the problem is we got it Microsoft falling. We got Nvidia pushing. It seems like a buy, but we got such we got both directions here. It's hard to figure out. I'm just gonna wait. Such a choppy movement right now. All right, so the Federal Reserve meets this today. It's the second longest government shutdown is here. Hundreds of thousands of furloughed since early October. Again, economists think this could cause problems in GDP if it continues. Look at the Microsoft stock dip, though. Microsoft's down, Intel's down, Oracle is down on the day as well. Look at Oracle right here. Oracle has fallen 275 since the opening bell. Nvidia's still pushing up, though. And so if Microsoft regains some strength, you know, I'm still kind of curious about buying this. Microsoft's already made its drops. I'm gonna try to buy this down here, but it's risky. We'll try. We got a cushion on the day in this, so we can play with this, see if we bounce here. There we go. I'll take half off, or a third off. Just trading the chop right now, really, guys. Scalping it. Nvidia's close to highs of the day, and Microsoft looks like it wants to bounce back. That's the only reason I'm doing this, but we're green. There we go. We're going to take a little bit more off. Cut it maybe at the top there. It might continue up, but we're so indecisive in markets right now. All the big tech earnings are choppy. Yeah, we got big tech. We got Fed decision, ending quantitative tightening, dynamic, all that stuff going on. All right, so here's Oracle dip. Microsoft. Nvidia at the top middle right here. Nvidia's close to highs of the day too, so I think a lot of people are expecting it to break. Microsoft's starting to rebound back up. And Apple, again, the other $4 trillion company right now, is green since the opening bell. Apple's up to 270. So we got some reasons to bounce. And we're also close to all-time highs, which I think is the dynamic most people are seeing. Again, check out Top Step if you want to help support the channel. That's what we're day trading on today, is Top Step's funded account programs. Great way to learn how to day trade. Bank of Canada cuts policy rates 25 basis points as expected. This is what they expected. Current policy rate is about the right level, assuming inflation and economy evolve broadly in line with projections. So again, Bank of Canada did cut rates 25 basis points as expected. Very choppy open. Look how choppy this market is right now. I'm using Top Step X. Beautiful way to help support the channel. No PDT and futures. Get you around the PDT world. They're a sponsor of mine. I'm biased, of course. Not an investment professional. Not liable if you lose. But yeah, if you want to check it out, here's the link. They pay out millions, fund thousands. Very similar to day trading stocks. $50 for the base one. Great way to learn. There's the link. Check it out. All right, guys, we got the Fed meeting today. Nasdaq's are also, the closer we get up here, the more I think we're going to break all-time highs, but I need a dip first. That's a dip. Gotta buy this dip. Pop back up there. We got a cushion on this one on the day. That's the only reason we're looking at buying the dip. If we chop sideways, I'm gonna reduce size on this pullback. It was the right decision there. We're still green on the day here, but less green. Gotta fake some people out. Got close enough to highs to get buys interested and then dumped. So I have a little trap here, it looks like. I'm gonna start reducing size as we start dropping. Got it. I think it might just be faking people out though. We might actually bounce it back here. Look at this drop right here. If this is the finalized drop or whether we rebound back up. Yep. We did catch a bounce here. Look at this. What account am I on? Look at this. I go to cut this. Very choppy though. Got it up here at the top of the range. Trying to hedge here. Chop is terrible, guys. Not good. All right, guys, so we got the FOMC. Such bad chop here. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do with this. Gotta wait for a break in either direction. Alright, NASDAQ starting to move up there. I'll buy this if we get one, but I'll buy the dip again. A little risky. But I think we might be edging up there to all-time highs, and I think we're close enough to where we got some edge in betting on that, but we've already got a like a big enough cushion on this one on the day. And we're green. There we go. Green on the trade. Take a little bit off there just to protect it. Still struggling to break though. Try. Take a little bit more off up there at the top. Well, let's get a big breakout. There we go. That's what we want. Let's see if we go again. We'll hold the rest break even now, so we'll make money no matter what. There we go. Give me market highs. Chat, give me market highs. Let's see if we get it. There we go. I'm gonna cut it right there. I'm a wimp. What can I say? Maybe I'll buy a pullback if we get one. What I've seen lately, honestly, markets do a lot of the time. What I've seen markets do a lot of the time. What I've seen markets do a lot of the time is get really close to these big levels and then just dump big. All right, so here's a dip. Is the dip worth buying here, guys? We're green on the day. I think we're net green as well. All right, I'll buy this dip. I'll fall for the bait. I'll add a little bit to it. See if we pop back up right here. Come on, give it to me. Here we go. Here we go. We took half off. Take another piece off up there. Now we're not going to lose money no matter what on this, but I want to see if we get all-time highs up there. There we go. There we go. Alright, this looks too heavy. I'm going to cut it right here. We're up really nicely on the day, actually, right now, just by betting on these, but... Alright, yeah, here's the push towards all-time highs. Still pushing up. We don't really have the home sales report at 2 p.m. All right, NVIDIA, 5 trillion market cap. Look at NVIDIA. There's the all-time high break here. So we did just tap all-time highs. NASDAQ over all-time highs ahead of the Fed meeting. NVIDIA pushing up to 211s. Gold going up a little bit over the last 5 minutes. Microsoft down big. All right, NASDAQ still testing highs. S&P. The E-minis broken highs at all-time highs as well at 69.51.75. FOMC's at 2 p.m. Eastern. So we got the FOMC meeting. PM. Yeah, it's always at 2 p.m., guys. We'll see if it holds. This is Donald Duck. All right, guys, listen. I'm going to go ahead and close the stream. We will be back. NASDAQ at all-time highs. NVIDIA at all-time highs. We will be back close to the FOMC decision. Will the Fed end quantitative tightening is the question. Will the Fed end QT? If so, when do you guys think they're going to end it? Let me know in chat right now. When do you guys think the Fed will end quantitative tightening? I don't know when they're going to end it. Hopefully it's sometime soon, but I don't know when they're going to end it. NASDAQ still pumping up over all-time highs. Look at this. And again, I'll show you guys some of my stats before we close it down on Top Step. Check out Top Step if you want to help support the channel. These are my stats per account this week. I'll give you guys my stats per account. This is one of them. That's account 1. Okay. That's one account. Here's the next one. This is account 2. All right. This is account 3 this week. This was, I think, the worst I've done on this account. But you can kind of see, like, the losing days are smaller than the 2 winning days I've had. So we're doing pretty good there. And then this is account 4 this week, which is my best account, my main account, and the one we're doing the best on. No losing days. So green is good. Pretty good so far. Hey, appreciate it, Kato. Again, check out Top Step. Great way to help support the channel. No PDT and futures. Beautiful way to learn. That's my Top Step stats for today. We've been doing pretty good. We'll be back later on. Remember, we got the FOMC live stream. Again, we got the FOMC live stream happening. So again, I'll see you guys a little bit later. Y'all be safe. And yeah, I'll see you guys at 2 p.m. Again, as soon as I close this stream, it'll bring you to the FOMC stream. So be ready. I'll see you guys over there. Y'all good luck. Be safe. Trade smart. I'll see you guys in a few hours.